here, and we are just getting started. We're just at the top of the hour, and we've been talking cricket, which if you're an American, you're probably going, "What? Cricket?" And if you're in a lot of other places in the world, you're going, cricket. Yeah, what a great sport. So the reason we're talking it is that the World Cup of what's called T20 World Cup is being played in the US and West Indies jointly. They're the joint hosts. So there are various locations around the US, Dallas, New York, don't know how many others, where they're playing games, and then in the West Indies. And I don't know how many cricket stadiums there are in the West Indies, but the US has not ever been a very highly ranked cricket team, but they've played 2 games in the what's called the pool for cricket, and they've beaten Canada, which probably doesn't mean a lot, but then they also have beaten today Pakistan earlier today. That's a big deal because Mark, was Arib right? He said Pakistan's ranked number 3 in the world coming into the tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so all of a sudden now today, and Mark earlier. Well, was it yesterday, Mark? When was it you predicted it? It was yesterday. No, it was earlier today. We had a call earlier today. It's right. Wednesday. That's right. No, today's Thursday. It was yesterday. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. So yesterday, before the Pakistan game, which was going to be this morning in the U.S., late at night in Pakistan, because I think it started 9 o'clock in the morning, so it'd be 9 at night. But still, probably a good time. That Arib wasn't saying anything, but Mark goes, they're going to beat, the U.S. is going to beat Pakistan. And I thought he was joking. Maybe he was, but they did. They beat Pakistan. So that's kind of fun. By the way, welcome to all of you. Again, you're listening and watching 2 ways, either live, so you're with us right now, or on replay. And I just got to acknowledge one person that's in the audience, and all of you can ask to be unmuted if you'd like. But one in particular, Doug Ness, who spoke with us not that long ago, and we talked about him coming back some point after he was spending some of his summer up in Alaska, which is what he does. He spends the winters here in Idaho, and he goes to Alaska during the summer. And if he wants to unmute or raise his hand, we could certainly say hi, because we'd already agreed that sometime later, give him a chance. He hasn't been up there that long, and it's still spring. I mean, it doesn't turn summer until what, June 23rd, right? So I have no idea. Maybe it's still really, different weather, maybe freezing at night. I don't know, but we'll check, and maybe Doug will put something in the chat too. Alicia has put a couple of things, which she always does. Thank you, Alicia. And we'll talk about your thoughts and questions there. Again, this is not a specifically programmed session. It is Talk with Wayne. And it means you can talk through your chat, or you can talk by asking to speak. Is that Doug's hand that's raised, Mark? It says there is none pending, so I don't know whether you'd actually.
Yeah, I don't see, yeah.
But maybe you'll throw something in the chat and we can deal with it there. So since we last spoke, and I don't remember, I've missed a few sessions because I was traveling. I think I was actually here last week, but I've been in South Dakota, and I've been in Colorado, and I've traveled through Wyoming, and traveled through Utah, and then now for the last week and a half or so here in Idaho. I had with me in those adventures, for the end of them, a very good friend of Doug's also, Jim Dwyer, who traveled with us. And Doug, it says, has joined the room. So that must mean he's unmuted.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should be able to talk now.
We're on.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. And Doug, how many hours ahead are you?
It is, it's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock here. Yeah.
Wow.
2 hours, 2 hours difference from Idaho.
Okay.
2 hours. 2
Yeah.
hours later,
That's
actually.
right.
That's 1
Well,
o'clock.
no, we're 2 hours later. You're 2 hours earlier. And then Pacific California would be 1. So you're just 1 time zone
1 hour.
farther in California.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And am I right? When is Marge headed that way?
She's been here for a couple weeks now.
That's what I thought, May 21st or something like that. So
Yeah, she got up here.
great.
Yeah, she's out on the deck having lunch. So
Doug got the memo. We're wearing orange.
I don't
or
think you
yellow-
can't see it.
Yellow today. We honestly.
I'm sorry?
Oh, we're wearing similar colors.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, this is my old work shirt. Yeah. Anyhow,
So give us a brief update. How is it up there? How'd you find everything after getting there?
the Bears didn't get into anything this year, and they had a lot of moisture. It's still pretty cold here. It's high 30s at night, and then mid 40s, 50s. It was 60 degrees a couple days, but it looks like we're going to be 40s and low 50s here for the next few days, week, and then it'll warm up to 50s and 60s, and then gradually up a little more. The leaves have just come on now. This last week, everything leaved out, all the leaves, and grayling are just starting to hit good in the bay here, and so I'll show you a picture, but I don't think it's so bright.
It is bright.
Oh, there we go. I can maybe get it here.
Well, you get now. You go this way a little.
Some of
bit.
this.
As you
Go
went
this way, maybe.
that way, you were seeing a little more. Yeah. Wait. Oh,
That
now
shows.
we're seeing the bay. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't. It's pretty bright. I'll walk around a little bit, but it's pretty nice out, and everything's green, which is nice. It just came on now. A lot of reflections. So, anyway, yeah.
So how many times have you come back to bear games?
Just occasionally. A year ago, we had a year ago now, when people came back, there's only in about 60 miles, there's about 20 cabins on this side of the lake, and 11 of them got really damaged by the bears. And mine, I just had a little bit. You can't maybe see it, but up on my window here, there's still some bear prints on the window where they stood up and put their paw print up on the window in here, but they didn't push it in. They could have, but they could have pushed it in. Our neighbor's cabin got totally destroyed inside. Like someone had gone in, a group had gone in and just demolished everything, tore walls, tore all the siding off one side, pulled all the plumbing out, and ate sheetrock and just destroyed. Unbelievable what they do when they get in. So there's 11 of them that got hit like that. So that bear in that little cabin, that was $150,000 worth of damage those bears did in a few days. And other places had the same thing. So I was fortunate. They bit a few windows, tore up a couple things, but nothing major at all. They didn't get in. Bit some windows, but didn't get in. And
Yeah.
so we're really fortunate.
Can you be insured?
But that was unusual. It was a low. No, you really can't get much of any insurance other than liability insurance out here. I don't see. There's no services out here. I'm in the bush, so it's off grid. There's no. You have to create all your own power. You got to get here, and so you really can't get fire insurance on your building because it's there's no fire department. You are the fire department,
Right.
and so you have liability on your equipment, for guiding and that type of thing. Your boats, you have that, but not the others. So anyhow, yeah. You just be careful. So.
And have you started having guests yet?
No, we'll start doing some guiding a week from Monday. Will be our first. I think it'll be our first guests. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Russ just left today to go see his grandson graduate from college, in Seattle, and Tony has been having a few medical issues, so we're
okay.
Just looking after him, praying for that a little bit. I'm going to show a video in a few minutes here, Doug, about our site that we're working with, that we're trying to put together. A lot has changed since you were here, and in terms of partnerships, people involved, and different things that we're doing. And
Okay.
so all very positive. Matter of fact, really, really positive. But the biggest thing is that Micron, who has gotten a $15 billion grant to expand their business, their chip business, we're in discussions with them, very serious ones. They're very excited about having our site become temporary housing for construction workers. And there's actually a bike path, either dirt or paved, all the way from our site to Micron, 12.2 miles. And not that people would ride their bike to work necessarily, but as you can imagine, the road distance is 15 minutes or less. So
isn't that something? Wow.
So we're in those discussions. I think I can say pretty confidently, this has happened recently. We have two pretty prominent Idahoans who are now members of our team. Larry Craig, our senator for a number of years, and Butch Otter, our governor for 3 terms. And obviously, they both, and Butch in particular, has very strong relationships with Micron. So anyway, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And it's been, since you left, you probably heard from your family, I think pretty typical spring. And out there, very dry. It was actually over the last weekend. So either Sunday or Monday, could have been Monday actually. I haven't been there since the rain. No, you know what? I have been this week. So maybe it was Tuesday. I was there Monday. So I think the rain was Tuesday. So it greening up, it is as green there and greenest it'll be all year. It'll start to dry out now. And then lastly, we've got some other really great relationships. Our alpaca friends up in northern Idaho, Pend Oreille area, are going to partner with us as we put a herd of alpacas out there on the site, and both for meat production down long term and for fiber and for breeding animals. So that's all very cool.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then very strong interest in the lava stone we have, for both decorative, landscaping, I'd say those two primary reasons, but also road base and sidewalk base, or again, landscaping means in landscaping beds commercially, residentially, and so on. But the big interest is on the large lava rocks for the decorative purposes, landscaping. But our interest is that we actually believe we can take the much smaller lava, of which we have a lot of it, it's very close to the surface, and turn that into road base for the roads that we'll be using at the site. So I think with that said, I'm going to share my screen. You have any other questions or thoughts, Doug, or anybody from the audience? I'm going to share my screen here and show a video. Here we go. Mark or Doug or anybody else, can you tell me if you can see the video? It's not playing yet. I haven't started.
Yeah, I can see. Yes, I can see the video come up.
Probably won't hear any talk. Maybe you will, but I'll narrate about it after. It's 2 minutes long. So I don't know if you heard the talk there or not. Again, if not, it was narration describing elements of the site and things that could be used by Micron and others for their benefit. So, and again, yeah, Darlene said no sound, so I figured that would be the case. It's just because of the way the microphones work and such. When we play a video, unless it's played internally, it doesn't. We can't hear it. But it's exciting because it's going to be a major victory for this area, but also for green development, because we'll do this all in a not dense. There won't be huge dense housing. There'll be lots of open space. You heard the emphasis on trails. You didn't hear that. You saw it. Those beautiful lava rock features that you saw, those are not going to go anywhere. Those are cliffs, and those are just going to be in place. However, there is loose lava rock underneath those that we will be, I'm just going to use the word picking, but a better word is we're stone farming. And that's not an inappropriate word. We used it for 17, 18 years in Colorado, because that's a lot of what we did there with sandstone and what we called moss rock that we picked and then sold to different clients, different client types, and then ultimately used a crushing process to turn it into road base. And I'm seeing I'm going to show something else from that real quick. Anybody have questions or comments about what you just saw in the video there, other than describing what you didn't see from or excuse me, you didn't hear because of the sound? I'm moving over to Google real quick. I'm going to pull up Google Photos. By the way, put in a 1 if you're hearing me all right. If you heard Doug all right earlier, and Mark. So this is, let me share some things here. I'll share my screen again.
Darlene has her hands up, so I guess she wants to join with audio. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right, I'll let her join.
Hey, Darlene. Hello.
It might take a few seconds.
All right. Well, I'm gonna screen share here while she's coming on.
Okay.
So one of the things you saw was some structures, which were modulars, being built in some factory situations. Well, this is one of them. This is called a park model home. And notice that this one's ready to be shipped. And what you're not seeing well, you are too, it's here. This is a porch that's at one end of it. It is 39 feet long. Excuse me, it's not quite accurate. It's a total of, and I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna I've got a phone call coming in that I'm not going to take, and then I'll get back to just a second. So again, you're seeing various elements. This is the kitchen living space area that could also be a bedroom. There's a bedroom down here at this end. I didn't film it. with a lock, the stairway that isn't in the pictures going up here. So this would sit on an RV pad that would be on the site, and you saw some drawings of that. And again, could house probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 people who are temporary workers as construction's being done.
Color.
There's some other photos that are here. Darlene, I think I'm hearing you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes,
Okay. I didn't know if I was live or not.
you are. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good for my age.
Well, you sound good. And where are you at in the world?
I'm in southern Indiana,
Okay.
Evansville, Princeton area. I go way back to the Dennis Weaver era. I just wanted to catch up with you and find out what all you're doing now. And so I attended last week and listened. I have some questions about invasive species and setting up businesses to control them in our area. And I didn't know if there's anything that you've got that or anybody's working with that or not.
Well, it's a great idea for a business type. And yes, we do have people that are working with that. And I'm going to call it in a natural sort of way. So they're not using heavy duty chemicals for sort of control of invasives, instead trying to see if the native plants can outcompete the invasives, which is difficult with some, especially larger invasive plants, like, for example, Russian olives, and in the area that I live in the arid western United States, and even cottonwoods are not natives, and so they're also, sometimes can become overwhelming and use a lot more water. This photo actually has, you can't really see them because they're down. You can see my cursor down here, and they're not yet really blooming, but they're what they call white top in this area, and the cattle won't eat them. And right now they're just still green, and once they flower, the tops get white. This is not white top. This is actually a budding sagebrush here, but no, that's not right. These are flowers. This is sage. But later in the summer, this will be filled with this. They typically like lower areas. So when I was in Colorado, Darlene, for 34 years, we did a lot of control of invasives, both plants and animals, with natural methods. Predation, for example, for some of the non-native or invasive animals, and then literally trying to grow the soils. It's for their fertility, to make it harder for invasives to outcompete natives on the plant side. So grasses, for example, these are native grasses that are from last year that you're seeing here. Different kinds of wheat grasses, western wheat. There's some little blue stem in here, and then this is last year's grass. So that's just, it hasn't, you can see in some of the green down below here. So I don't know about your area. We could probably help you in looking to just see what kinds of companies and other businesses there might be in your area that are doing work to see about eradication of invasives. By the way, Doug, you know what that peak is, right? Down to so that's looking pretty much straight north.
And you're talking about the RV park. Are you actively building one? Because that's one of the things that I had looked at doing here locally. And I'm still, it's still on the docket. We're trying to figure out what to do with the land that we have. Permaculture, what is it, some of the things that we can do with this. We have a small acreage, only 20 acres, but we have some opportunities in Orange County, Indiana. But one of the things that we're having a really bad time with is these vines that are tearing down the trees. And so we're having some challenges. Purdue had a series on it, and we attended that. But there wasn't much about how to actually set up and start doing a company. You know, what's the cost? What's the grants possibility? You know, and like you said, doing it from a natural standpoint. You know, so that's kind of the things. And when you're talking about the RV, there, you got my attention. I'm thinking, well, those are the things that we had looked at doing, and then making a connection with them across the planet.
Darlene, at least here in the West, and I'm not going to speak for Indiana, but there is a huge shortage of non-urban, so not in like the middle of major cities, RV sites where there's either some power, water, sewer hookups, or even if there's not, if they're completely what we call dry, there's just no room. They're not there. They're just not available. Mainly because there's not enough housing in most urban areas that's affordable, and people that work in those areas can only afford to live in this more mobile kind of housing. That's not what we're proposing here. Proposing completely the opposite end of it, which is a very high-end type of a mobile home, or excuse me, RV, recreational vehicle, but location. And it is not yet built. It is in the planning stages. Not the video that we played, that was said, and you would have heard it. And this area right here is not where we'd be building it on this site. It's actually, I'll show you. I've got some other photos of it that I'll show in a second. By the way, Doug, that's the backside of Bogus, looking straight north. So that's just from one. This is almost the highest elevation on this 2,000 acre site. We go from 4,000 feet at our highest elevation down to about 24 to 25, in between 24 and 2,500, the lowest point. And we're about at the highest here. I'm going to go show a few more here that show some of this. This takes a little while to load.
And where are you located with what you're showing us here?
Southwestern Idaho,
Okay.
so just south of Boise. This is actually a site that I've got under contract that I'm buying to become our corporate headquarters. So I'll show a little bit of this. But it's got a brand new, what we call barn dominium, which is this building right here, 48 by 40. And it's going to be a combination of living quarters and meeting space, and a shop also, but on this property. And that's the upstairs in a different building that's not occupied, which is this one right here. This is a 1920s vintage home that is totally structurally sound, as well as sound in terms of water leakage, but needs, huge amount of work interior. So a completely different site. This is a 1950s building home in which we're going to be continuing to lease it out for an income generator. But again, Darlene, this is in southwestern Colorado, Idaho. This is actually my family in Colorado and doing jujitsu. And then this is a Home Depot where I was taking a picture of a a fancy goldfish. That fish right there, look at the price of that fish. That fish is about 3.5 inches long, $34 to buy that fish. Anyway, I wanted to get to this. This is where for 17 years I lived in northern Colorado, and this is a modular home built at a site like you saw in that video, and then put together on site. So it's just under 16 feet wide to there on each side. So it's 32, a little less than 32 total. And it's actually 54 long. But it's put on a foundation here with footings in a variety of locations on the sides, and then more footings throughout the middle of it. And that's what this company that we were at, Nashua, another one called Gearden Industries, and a third one called Autoval, which is a German company, are doing here in the Boise, Idaho area. But this photo is about a week and a half ago, everybody, in northern Colorado. And this is looking from a hillside down into a valley. This is probably 75 feet elevation higher than down here, where there are 22 ponds. This is looking down in that same, looking again downwards. This is of a place called Buc-ee's, which any of you who have been in Texas or in the southwestern U.S. would know. This is now their newest facility. It's a gas station, and it has 100 pumps, a bunch of electric charging stations too over this direction, but which is the most pumps in any single gas station in the United States, I guess. I'm just told that's supposedly the case. Their store here is like a department store. It's a 70,000 square foot space. And then I'm going to see if anybody else knows anything about Buc-ee's. They have one thing they do that they claim is their feature, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. Let's see if anybody guesses it, and then I will tell you a little bit later. This is back at that site I lived in for many years. This is one of our bigger ponds. There's a whole bunch more down in this drainage. If I would be there this year, this grass would all be mowed, but it's not yet here. They're doing so much of the stone picking and processing. This is a very recent crush of what's called the waste from the stone quarrying operation, and this is turned into road base. So that's 1 to 3 inch rock that would be used in this kind of a scenario on the ground, and this isn't a road, it's a parking area, but it would be like that. Here's a road, that's the gravel road base on it. Here's the same, so that's that gravel. This is also, this is that same home that I showed earlier from the front. It's a well house. Here's that one field that I mentioned that was below where I was taking the pictures previously. This is the backyard of, again, the house I lived in for 17 years. Here's some views of it inside. That's a big screen. This is stone from the quarry used on the exterior of this fireplace, chimney going up above it. And then this one I'm just going to show. This is actually a ICF, insulated concrete foundation home being built outside of a bunker in Edgemont, South Dakota. This is inside the bunker. So you're looking now at 14 foot high in the center, 28 feet wide from this side over to this side, and 80 feet long from that wall back there to probably 10 feet behind me. This is going to be bedrooms and different living areas and storage up on top, and then storage back in the back. This is the door leaving it. There is a picture of it from the side. It's actually a video. I'm not going to show that whole video. There's another one, the side of it. This is actually out in front of a bunker that I own there in this location. And we're getting into dog pictures here, but we're going to get back to the Blacks Creek section in the earlier one, just a second. I'll pull this off in a second, but these are rocks and boulders at the site. This is actually a reservoir called Payette Reservoir here in Idaho. Here's on the backside of this Blacks Creek, the roadway that's on one of the borders. This goes to that reservoir you saw in that video. This is the road going, and then the trail you saw was going up this way towards this reservoir. The micron site you saw was right out here. It's just sagebrush there. These are natives. All of that, what you're seeing here, there's a lot of times, a lot of areas here that there's invasives. This is actually quartz that was found on the site. Here's another view of it with the sagebrush. Was again taken a week and a half ago or something. Boulders that are granite. Here's where that RV park that is shown, that we showed in that other video, is going to be built. This is a lava surface, so there's only maybe an inch of topsoil in a lot of this area that is grazed. These are cattle. They're out here, but it's what could be picked and used for road base on areas in the site. Here's a road, for example, going through the site with some cattle being driven. This is some of the lava rock I talked about. And here's some of the cliffs. Here's some. Those are a lot taller than look in this picture. It's a 20 to 30 foot cliff. These are probably 30 to 50 foot. That's probably close to 70 feet out there. This is at a farther distance, looking at those same lava cliffs. This is the area in which the RV park would be built on, a lot flatter. That's Danskin down there to the south. Doug knows this area. He lives around here in the winters. He used to live here full time for many, many years. This is actually out in the Oahes, Doug, where I went to a Brittany event. This is a dog that I'm hopefully getting a puppy from here in the near future, but this is probably 6,500 feet down, almost. This was taken a little earlier, in early May, but there was still snow right up, just about up in there on the Oahes. Still in Oregon. No, still in Idaho. Still in Idaho here. That's right, not over into Oregon yet. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing, go back to the video here, back to the screen. Well, hi, Darlene. Now we see you in one of the images. Good to see you. Tell us about a fun story about Dennis. I know I saw your name a lot back in the time. So I met Dennis in 2007, 2008, with Scott Fardulis. And boy, we heard some neat stories of the drive to survive, the drive for life. So tell us a story or two.
Well, I knew him mostly when he would come to Kentucky here. There was a business that one of his family members were involved with here. And so we'd sit around and cuss and discuss about things. He was a pretty funny guy. He was pretty down to earth. And of course his wife was too. And so we kind of just kept in touch with, he got involved with the car. What was I can't remember what was driven by. Anyway,
it was natural gas powered, and it was driven by a father and son from the Salt Lake area.
Right.
I'm not thinking of their name right now. Maybe it'll come.
That's
to
the
me.
way I am. Is I'm getting my oldest son's a physician. He says, "Well, as long as you know you're forgetting, you're okay, Mom." It's when you stop being able to know you're forgetting, everybody else knows you're in that you're in trouble.
Right.
So that's kind of I have these, a lot of these memories of times, and I have the flashbacks, but then I can't remember the names. This was over in the Owensboro, Kentucky area. And there was somebody building and I think I'm trying to remember right off the top of his head, the adopted son or whatever, that he still has his business. So I've kept in touch with them over the years, and I can't even think of his name. When I try to think of something, then it goes out of my brain sometimes. But we were very much into, at that time, and still are very much into organic gardening and trying to do things to protect the land and teach our kids appropriately. We started homeschooling our children and started the dynamic of figuring out how to do things that we just saw that the planet was being destroyed more and more. And it seems like, we've lost contact with the people of the past. And I just thought, well, it's time to, while I'm retiring now and looking, okay, what do we want to do with the planet? What do we do? I started thinking about things that Dennis we would talk about. And when he built the Earth ship, I just came across that video the other day, and I almost bought that when after
after he passed.
Yeah, after he passed, I almost bought that. And just things that that have passed on that we had the opportunity to participate with and didn't. We go off on different paths, and then I said, well, I need to reconnect with people who are from that era now that we have the internet. And I've not used the webinar that you're using here much. Early on, I guess they did the webinar jam. I've been using more Zoom, and now I'm trying to get back to the point that I can actually do some of the things that we envisioned doing back then that never got done. What are the things that we talked about? And there were many things that we talked about way back when, and I'm going back through my notes, and fortunately I've kept a lot of them, although we did have a fire that we lost quite a bit of our background stuff in, etc. So we are trying to pick up the pieces. But one of the things that I've noticed is so many people that are my age, I'll be 80 in October, are being forced to sell their homes because nobody wants to take over the acreage. And that's so what we started a program, we're calling it a co-housing program. And so we're putting that together. And then as we were doing it, we began to realize there were several things that needed to be added to it, like the RV parks that we could do. And then getting into the invasive species control, because it used to be in southern Indiana, it used to be beautiful, and now the roadsides are all overgrown. The properties are being overgrown with all of these plants. Well, what can we do to do to make this for the young people? What can we do for the grandkids and the great grandkids that will wake them up to realize that there's money to be made in this, kids? If you're looking for something that, there's businesses, there's things that can be built. And so that's kind of, I said, well, we need to go back to the era when there were people like Dennis and others that were, interested in doing something. And of course, what was it, his 100th birthday this past month? I was looking to see who was when, and I noticed Dennis Weaver on June the 4th was born in 1924 in Joplin, Missouri.
Would have been 100. Wow.
Yeah, he would have been 100. So that's when I reached out to you, and then you found out you were on vacation, because I would like to have done something to celebrate his 100th year. And who's got his Earthship now, what's the history. So I kind of like to dig into that a little bit more of who's carrying on some of his legacy.
So Robbie still lives there in the area. His son, he was still involved in real estate not that many years ago. The Earthship was bought by a nonprofit that I'm not sure what they're doing with it. You've prompted me now. This is great. Mark, do you remember what today is?
Today is Thursday. I don't know that. I don't know.
D-Day.
The very first heat session. Well,
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
it was 8 years.
Yeah,
It was
wow.
8 years ago. So this is 2016, June 6th, 2016. So I hadn't thought about it until right now, that this is our 8th anniversary. But Darlene, it's going to be real easy to think about now using this sort of as an anniversary of the 100th year of Dennis Weaver's birth, because that's what it would be now. It would be this next year. It would be from the 4th, because that's the day he was born. So the 100th year would be this next year. Wow.
And I'd love to be involved with that because, D-Day today.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's D-Day.
There's several people that were there, 104. That's, this is, we have to bring back history enough to really celebrate it. And as we live a little longer, and now that we have the internet, so one of the things that I would like to do is like another project is who is doing what where. Who from the old era is doing what where. Whose dreams have come true. Especially those who really were into many years ago into the permaculture and into organic gardening. Where, is this still very viable? I keep in touch with the people that are the 4 patriots. Some of the things of the new technology. How can we bring the new technology to make it easier to do some of these things? So anyway, I'm just I've been sustaining it on my own now since my husband passed in 2010. And although we have 7 children and we have a large, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nobody's interested in the property. Nobody's interested in, taking care of and et cetera. So I finally have a granddaughter and she's looking at doing it. And I have a grandson who just got out of the Marines. He's kind of looking at it. And the question is, what do we do to make it sustainable? How do we, because we used to raise all this organic. We had blackberries and we made wine. And we did all sorts of things that were done here. And those things are dying because they're not being taken care of now. So the question is, what do we do to stimulate this? So we've been looking at how can we do things on small acreages. And I said, well, let's go back and take a look at what Dennis and I said talked about. Health is the most important thing. I wouldn't be as healthy as I am if it hadn't been for learning to eat appropriately from the garden. We used to raise almost everything. Our kids bought their own cars, bought all their things for selling at the fruit stands. Well, that's, I told that to my granddaughter who has 4 kids and she said, I just barely remember doing that. And I said, well, there you go. Didn't you have fun doing that? Why can't your kids do that? Why can't we start that back up? Because the fruit stands are still actually available. It's still listed as being a viable fruit stand place. So I said, people still eat food, and look at how high it's costing in the grocery store now to buy fresh fruits. So this is again, I guess what I call planting the seed again of, and who's still doing these things? You
Well,
know,
we've done over 1,700 of these videos where the topic is always economics, where what Dennis would say, the description of the word or definition, showing people how to make a little money making the planet better.
exactly.
And he would always say to me, we've spent thousands of years and billions of dollars screwing the planet up. So now we need to show people how they can make a little money making it better.
Now, I think there's a lot of money to be made in some of these areas that I've been investigating. That's what I've been doing for the last year, just sitting back doing searching on the internet, putting it to good use. And so this is again, where are the videos, who's doing what, where, and start doing that thing is to creating a way for us to advertise. So I haven't looked at the EAT site enough with the economics.org site enough to see exactly what all you've got posted there. But I said, there's a lot of elders out there that, are sitting around doing nothing, that would love to get involved in sharing some of these things. And they're learning about the internet and etc. So these kids got to get something to do. They can't even sack groceries in our grocery stores anymore. There's nothing for them to do but get into trouble.
Well, Darlene, we will absolutely reach out to you and see how we can get you involved in helping us. So if you're willing to think about that, we
yeah. Well, like I said, I'm trying to decide who's doing what, where, and who's worth getting involved in and creating. One of the projects that Dennis and I talked about many years ago was a project that was near and dear to me. I'd found the Urantia papers at that time, and I was thinking, I said, wouldn't it be great to build gardens of Eden around the planet, to actually build paradise on Earth? And his eyes just lighted up, and he said, yeah. He said, what do you think I'm doing? So it's like one of those things of, we all have different words for things, but it is about making the current best ever better.
Yeah.
And that's,
And that's why we like the term regenerative rather than sustainable, because sustainable means staying the same. And I don't think we want things to stay the same. We want things to be better. So we are regeneration. Yeah.
Regeneration. I like that.
So we're right at the top of the hour. I want to see if anybody else has got questions or thoughts. Alicia has put in a lot of great comments like she always does. Jane Fonda is in her mid 80s, I think now. Linda Gray, Darlene will remember Linda. Linda Gray was one of our board members for a number of years. Linda's still alive and very close to 80, and maybe about right there, Darlene, and still doing really well. Larry Hagman has died. Alicia Keys still stays in touch with us every once in a while. She was involved on the board for a little bit. Ronnie Howard was. Ronnie still stays in touch a little bit.
I haven't talked to him for a while, but I need to.
Dennis's involvement in the entertainment industry. Obviously, those names were people that he had. He had people that he dealt with. So, anyway.
Let's jump on that 100th year.
Yeah.
To honor him, and people like him.
Yeah, that's right. We will. Well, I think I don't see any new. I see Robert saying thanks, Wayne, and everybody is showing us to be regenerative in an economic way. Also, Hans says sustainable, not depleting. Yeah, I mean, sustainable is all right, but why not make it regenerative? Let's make it better.
Exactly. Yeah, make it current is ever better. Yeah.
Yeah. Alicia says sustainable agriculture. Again, let's just change the name. Let's call it economic or
yes, I like
regenerative.
That.
So it's better.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you. We are at the top of the hour.
You have my telephone number? At least send me an email.
Yeah, if you want to throw it into the chat here, or I'll communicate with you. We've got your email, so we can get back to you.
Well, I'm open to anyone reaching out to me if I'm able.
We will reach out. Mark, make sure we do that. Make sure we reach out to Darlene here over the
Yep,
next
got it.
time.
I got her email.
Yeah, 812-664-7419 is my mobile phone.
Awesome. That's
Okay.
great. We've got that now too.
Yeah, and I build
Everybody-
websites and do all sorts of things like that. I'm working on the internet, our own conferencing systems and stuff like that. So I'm really reaching out there and saying, okay,
And Doug,
So-
thank you. Doug's been on with us live here a little bit today. Hope things
Yeah.
are well. I have
Thank you.
all I need to, I'm going to take a call.